Spurs linked once again with a striker they've wanted for years. A Dutch pundit gives an honest assessment of why Xavi Simons is struggling. A fitness update on our injured players and details of this year's Spurs Remembers. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. Team Talk report that Tottenham are reportedly keen on a former target who will be made available for just £20 million in January, which is far cheaper than the transfer they missed out on a few years ago. Had Dusan Vlahovic come through the door in 2022 when Spurs wanted to sign him, Kane could have been given direct competition. Indeed, when Vlahovic signed for Juventus in the January of that year, Tottenham and Arsenal were both among his suitors, but the Italian outfit reaped the rewards of his signing with 62 goals and 15 assists in 156 games. But Vlahovic is out of contract in the summer and Juve are therefore ready to sell before he leaves for nothing. TBR Football reports he'll be made available for just £20 million. Most clubs are said to be expecting a summer transfer on a free, given Vlahovic can sign a pre-contract agreement in January. However, Juve are open to giving him a new deal and then selling to Tottenham, and are said to be open to a deal in the winter, where it's suggested other interested sides like Chelsea, Barcelona and Bayern Munich among them are not thinking about that. The report suggests that Tottenham are given the clear advantage in the hunt for Vlahovic. When Tottenham & Co missed out on Vlahovic in 2022, he commanded the £66 million transfer fee. As such, if they landed him for £20 million, while it's more than the free transfer that some are expecting, it's just a third of the transfer fee Juve paid. And given Spurs are showing they'd be willing to pay, despite other sides expecting a free transfer battle, that could give them the upper hand in Juventus's eyes, with the Italian side more than happy to negotiate with them than others. Previous reports suggesting Juve could cancel Vlahovic's deal seem to have gone out the window, and given the current report, it seems those plans were never really in place. Sport Witness reports that Dutch journalist Johan Derksen has analysed why Xavi Simons is struggling at Spurs. Prior to arriving at Tottenham, the 22-year-old had spells at Leipzig, Eindhoven and Paris Saint-Germain. Derksen is one of the belief that Simons lacks the physical strength required to cope with the needs of the Premier League. He's a great player who often uses tricks in the Netherlands. He also performed well in Germany, but in England they are much stronger physically. If you look at the English league and switch to a different league, it's completely different, he said. You can see that he can't keep up with the speed of the action and is physically weaker. While Tijani Reinders doesn't have that problem, he's already one of the leading players at Manchester City. The analyst believes that the Dutchman's talent won't alone be enough for him to shine for Thomas Frank's side. He suggested what Simons needs to do to improve his form. In the past, a lightweight with good technique could easily hold his own. Technique is no longer the only thing you need to contribute. You also need the physical strength at the top level, Derksen explained. Earlier this month, Football International journalist Suleiman Ozturk defended the Tottenham summer signing. He also insisted Simons needs time to adapt and adjust to his new surroundings. Dutch pundits are notoriously harsh, especially with their compatriots. Thomas Frank reports that Christian Romero, Dominic Solanke and Destiny Udogie have all taken steps forward as they continue their recovery from injury. Solanke has been out since August and underwent minor ankle surgery at the end of last month. Udogie has been out since early October with a minor irritation on his knee, and club captain Kuti has missed our last 3 matches with minor adductor issues. Speaking at his pre-match press conference ahead of our Carabao Cup tie against Newcastle, Frank was asked for an update on all 3, plus if there were any issues from Sunday's fine 3-0 win at Everton. He said it's all good from the guys who played on Sunday. Dominic steps forward, it's a step-by-step thing. Kuti is on the pitch, no time frame, but on the pitch. Destiny is on the pitch too, so steps forward. Yves Bissouma, Ben Davies, Radu Grusin, Dejan Kulusevski, James Maddison and Kota Sakai all remain sidelined. And Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have announced that during this period of remembrance, the club will honour those who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their country and show our support for the Royal British Legion's poppy appeal. Poppy wreaths will be laid and remembrance services observed at our WSL match with Liverpool women on Sunday, the 2nd of November at Brisbane Road, and our men's Premier League fixture with Manchester United on Saturday, the 8th of November at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Ahead of kick-off at both fixtures, members of our Armed Forces Spurs Official Supporters Club, including representatives of the Army and the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force, will be laying poppy wreaths on the pitch, followed by a period of silence during which the last post will be played by a bugler. Our men's players will be wearing special edition poppy shirts for our League Cup game away to Newcastle on Wednesday and our home Premier League fixture against Chelsea on November the 1st, as well as for the Manchester United game. Our women's players will wear their special edition poppy shirts during our WSL match away to London City Lionesses on November the 9th, as well as against Liverpool. Fans will be able to bid for a signed match-worn poppy shirt from all games via match-worn shirt, with proceeds all going to the Royal British Legion. Okay, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, the Dusan Vlahovic thing. This seems to have been knocking around for years, doesn't it? 2022. I can't believe where that time's gone. 3 years when we was linked with Vlahovic for a majority of the transfer window, and it didn't come to pass. Signed for Juventus. Great player back then. Had some really good seasons with Juventus. Tailed off a bit. Doesn't seem like Juventus are keen to keep the player, but obviously are going to want a fee for him and wouldn't want to leave him for free. So 20 million in January is being touted. Is that a good deal for Spurs? Difficult to say. We're still struggling in the striking department, in my opinion, but Randall Colomwani, now he's fit. It could be an interesting deal if we get this deal for Vlahovic done, if they genuinely are still interested in him, and perhaps bring him in the summer. So you get a pre-contract thing and get that deal done. That's if Spurs actually want the player still. This is just one report. Would I want Vlahovic? Probably yes. I think he's a sort of player that could probably do well in the Premier League. We are limited with striking options, as we know. I think that definitely needs a shake-up next summer. I don't expect any big money signings to come in January, sadly, as much as I'd like it. In fact, there's a certain Englishman at Bayern Munich I'd love to see come back next summer, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Are they going to go for Vlahovic? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. He was a player that I really wanted at Spurs 3 years ago. Whether that's still the case, whether he's still that player, I don't watch enough of Italian football to know. I've had a look at his stats. They were certainly fine in the first couple of years he was there, but he's kind of gone out of favour a little bit and gone off the boil. But perhaps that's just a player that wants to move, so let's keep an eye on that one. But get down in the comments, let me know, would you like to see Dusan Vlahovic at Tottenham? Still fairly young player, so got a fair few years ahead of him. These Dutch pundits that seem to really go in and scathing on their own country's compatriots. He's given a pretty scathing assessment of Xavi Simons. Look, we all know Xavi Simons hasn't hit the heights we all know he's capable of. I think that's the key. We know the player is capable of brilliant things, and he just hasn't had. It just hasn't worked for him at Spurs just yet. I still think that Xavi Simons is going to come good. I think he's still bedded in. He's only been here 6-8 weeks, 2 international breaks in that time, so a long periods to settle in and be at the club. Some would say he should hit the ground running and he should be better than he is. Yes, I agree, he does. We do need to see more from him, but he's a very young player. Absolutely slight build, but he's proved that players can survive in the Premier League if they're of slight build. Look at David Silva or Bernardo Silva, for example. Not massive players, but have been absolutely cracking players for Manchester City over the years, and that's just a couple. So I think Xavi Simons can survive in the Premier League. I think he's going to be good for Tottenham, but we need to give him time and just let him adapt to this league, because, as I say, he's a young player and it's going to take a little bit of time for him to come good, but I personally think he will. The fitness update that Frank gave on our players, nothing earth-shattering there. We know about those players. It would be good to see Cuti Romero back for Newcastle. I don't think that's going to happen. Personally, I'd rather have him back for Chelsea. I mean, that's fingers crossed that he can come back for Chelsea, because we're going to need our skipper for that game. Destiny Udogie, and Dominic Solanke. Look, we could get all these three players back at the same time. I would imagine Solanke comes back a little bit later because he's had an operation, but let's see. I mean, that's going to be a huge boost to Summer's Frank getting those three players back, especially Dominic Solanke, to have another striking option. Riddled with injuries, obviously, this season hasn't got going. And again, as I say, an area of the pitch where I think we've been struggling a little bit up front. I want to see our strikers score. Hasn't quite worked for Richarlison after those two opening games, and Koulibaly's just come back from injury. So, love to get Solanke back. And of course, the final thing, Spurs remembers, all the details were there about what the club are doing and how you can buy match-worn shirts with all the proceeds, as stated, going to that wonderful charity. So if you're attending the game, I'm sure that's going to be emotional as always, hearing that bugler play the last post. Anyway, get down in the comments. As always, tell me your thoughts on all those stories today or anything else you want to talk about around the Spurs world. And as always, come on you Spurs.